gonna show you how to make the easiest lasagna ever. It comes together like magic using 2 secret ingredients. We're gonna use Italian sausage and cheese and spinach ravioli. I know. Another thing that I really love about this recipe is the magic of it is that it is a 5-ingredient recipe. So you can whip this up with a bunch of stuff you got hanging around, which is the delight. Super low ingredients, really, really quick to put together. Because anytime I say the word lasagna, people think it's gonna take 1,000 years because lasagnas take a good amount of time to put together. But by using these little shortcuts, it's gonna cut the time in like a quarter. It's gonna be super, super fast. So I've got a pan here over medium heat and I'm just adding in a little bit more oil, just a little bit of olive oil. That's gonna help kind of get things browning. And then I have got 3 Italian sausages here. I've split them open and removed that casing because that's just basically ground meat, ground pork that someone else has seasoned. I'm going spicy Italian, but if you don't like spice, feel free to do mild Italian. That would be beautiful. That fennel in there would be great. But we're gonna add those sausages right into the pan. And you just wanna break it up a little bit just to start it going. This is a great hack as opposed to having to buy ground pork or ground beef and all of those spices, that fennel, that chili, everything like that. Someone else has done all that work. We're just adding sausage into a pan. Dream come true. I'm gonna cook that down until it's nice and golden brown, just giving it a stir every once in a while until it's nice and broken up. While that gets to cooking though, we're gonna talk cheese. And this is the only cheese that you really have to do anything to for this recipe. You need 2.5 cups of grated mozzarella cheese. You could also just buy a bag of pre-grated mozzarella cheese. Honestly, they have been on sale at the grocery store lately and my freezer is full. Fun fact, if you buy grated cheese, chuck it in your freezer, it lasts perfectly. It'll work well, it'll still melt up really nicely, and it holds, which is a total dream. But I'm gonna grate up just about 2.5 cups of this mozzarella. Now, when you're making a lasagna, you wanna use low moisture mozzarella. This is also what I call pizza mozzarella, the stuff that you eat like a cube of, not fresh mozzarella. That has too much liquid in it and it'd get kind of soupy, and we don't want soupy. Any sort of brick mozzarella will work. You don't have to buy the fancy one that comes in a ball. The one that's just in the regular cheese section, kind of near where you get the eggs, that's a good one too. Gotta love it. All right, that is looking beautiful. I'm gonna go check on that sausage now. Oh, also, just a fun tip, when you're using a grater, this is your snack, because that's just safe cooking. You don't wanna get your knuckles anywhere near this, so you keep that to yourself. No one will know. That's your little cheese snack. All right, now heading back over to this sausage. This is looking good, but we've got a swap here that's already done. You just wanna cook it down until it renders out that fat and is cooked all the way through. Once you get there, you're gonna have a nice crumbled ground meat. Again, the spices are already in there. This is literally just sausage and it already smells delicious in here. But into there, we're gonna make that classic meat sauce that goes in a lasagna. So you need about 2.5 to 3 cups of tomato sauce. Any type of tomato sauce you got hanging around in your pantry. You can even also just use a can of crushed tomatoes, which to be honest is what I usually do because that's usually what I have hanging around. I'm gonna add that right on into the pan with that sausage. And then this is my trick to trick everyone into thinking you made homemade pasta sauce and homemade lasagna, is I wanna use some store-bought pesto. I always buy my store-bought pesto at like those bulk stores, that one where you can get like 1,000 liters of pesto for like $10. And what I typically do is I have some in my fridge to use handy dandy, and then I freeze the rest in an ice cube tray. That way, all you need to do is pop some ice cubes of pesto right into here. Ooh, or bags. Did someone say bags? Also works perfectly. In a zip top bag, pop it in, break off a piece, pop it in there, and you're good to go. Now, even if you are using just canned tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, put a little bit of pesto in there, and it's gonna make it taste like you made your own homemade sauce. I'm going in with about 2 tablespoons of that pesto. That, again, is a great flavor shortcut. That's got garlic in there, it's got basil, it's got other herbs, we've got a little bit of pine nuts, so it's gonna add a little bit of creamy nuttiness into here. And already, this looks like a rich and delicious meat sauce. All right, that is it for the sauce. We are almost ready to go. We're gonna head on over here and start assembling this lasagna. So we've got the meat sauce, and then we've got the star of the show, spinach and cheese ravioli. Because if you think about it, what is a lasagna other than layers of thin pasta, stuffed with a little bit of ricotta, sometimes some spinach in there. So this is gonna work perfectly as a little bit of a dupe. So the first thing we wanna do is get some of that beautiful sauce, about 1/3 of it, and pop it into a greased casserole dish. Really any size. You could also do this in a square cake pan. Just about 1/3 of that down on the bottom. that's gonna give the moisture we need to actually cook that pasta, because we're not cooking this first and then putting it in the oven. It's all just gonna get layered in beautifully. So once we have that layer of that sauce, I'm just gonna top it with these little cheese raviolis. I'm not gonna lie to you, when we first moved into our house, we were renovating the kitchen, and we lived out of our slow cooker. Every meal we ate was in the slow cooker. We made basically this in our slow cooker and then had that for like a day. Basically all we ate was lasagna that day. Was I mad about it? No, it was delicious. But that's what happens when you don't have access to a kitchen and you are cooking in your spare bedroom. It's a good thing. All right, so a nice little layer of that ravioli, and you wanna use one of the big packs, the one that's around 700 grams, maybe 800 grams. Once that's on there, we're gonna go on with a little bit of this cheese. So just about a cup of that cheese goes right over top. That's gonna melt, help stick everything together, give you a nice layer of those noodles. Then we're gonna go on with another third of that sauce. Literally in this amount of time, you are making an easy breezy lasagna. Then we're gonna go on with more of that ravioli. Basically, you want about 2 layers of the ravioli to about 3 layers of that sauce. You wanna make sure it's in an even-ish layer, but honestly, I'm not mad if I get an extra little pocket of cheese here and there. So just pop that in. This is super simple too. You can make this in advance, pop it in your fridge, and you are good to go. Now I'm gonna go on to there with the rest of that sauce, just to give that extra layer. Beautiful, beautiful. Also, this is the perfect sized casserole. We did not know before. We were like, is it gonna fit? And it fits perfectly. All right, spread that out. And you wanna make sure that sauce touches most of those noodles. That's gonna give you a little bit of moisture on there. Then we're gonna top off with the rest of that cheese. So that's about 1.5 cups of that mozzarella. If you wanted to here, you could add on some Parmesan or Reggiano. That would be beautiful. Fancy it up a little bit, because this is, fun fact, not a fancy lasagna. But it is gonna be delicious. All right, now onto there, we do wanna seal in some humidity. Since we are cooking basically that pasta in the oven, we wanna seal it in. So what I'm gonna do is get a little bit of aluminum foil, but what I don't want is all that cheese to stick to this aluminum foil, because that's just a waste of cheese, and we don't do that in my kitchen. So get your aluminum foil, and then on the dull side, give that a spray with a little bit of non-stick cooking spray. The dull side of aluminum foil is a little less sticky than the shiny side, so already you're off to a good start. A little bit more of that non-stick cooking spray or a little oil. Pop that on top to cover, and make sure you seal it nicely, because again, that's gonna seal in that moisture, holding everything in. Now, up to this point, you can pop this in the fridge, let it sit in there for a couple days if you wanna get ahead, but I'm gonna pop this straight into a 400-degree oven for 30 minutes. Once it's been cooking for 30 minutes, uncover it, remove that foil, and let it go for about another 10 to 15, just until the top is beautiful and golden brown. When it is done, it looks exactly like a lasagna. Okay, look at this, right? Are you kidding me? Like cheesy, absolutely beautiful. Now, if you want, I would let this sit for a few minutes just so it firms up, so you can actually cut those slices, or you can just be sneaky and go in and steal a little piece of that delicious pasta with that cheesy, cheesy goodness. You get the ricotta in there, you get that stringy mozzarella. I'm very excited. Okay, cool. Oh, it's hot. We gotta take a quick break. We'll be right back. Today, I'm kicking things off in the kitchen with an A++ one-pot seasonal dinner. This is my spinach and pumpkin skillet lasagna. I'm very excited. I love a lasagna, but I feel like anytime people hear the term lasagna, they're like, oh my gosh, that's gonna take me like 82 years to make, and I don't wanna do that. I'm just gonna buy it in the freezer section. I do understand that, but honestly, a skillet lasagna is great because you're not dirtying a bunch of dishes. Basically, you make the sauce, you make everything in this pan that you need, you take it out, and then you build in this pan. So you don't even need like a lasagna pan or even like a square baking dish to make it. So to get started, we're gonna get to work on a cream sauce, because this is like a creamy lasagna, not a red sauce lasagna. So, right? It's the season of creamy sauce. That's like what I wanna eat. So in there, I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons of butter. I'm using unsalted butter, but if you have salted, honestly, that's fine. The only thing I really stick to using like salted or unsalted for is brown butter. I always use unsalted for brown butter because you're concentrating that salt, but anything else, literally whatever butter you have, put it in a pan. It's gonna be delish. Now this pan is over about medium heat. She's spicy. Hilariously, it's actually on like simmer, but this pan gets real hot, which is not bad. Now into there, I'm gonna add in an onion. So I have a yellow onion that I've just diced up nice and fine. Obviously, the finer you dice it, the quicker you cook. So the finer you dice this onion, the more it becomes like a weekday lasagna. Does that make sense? Cooks up quicker. Makes sense in my brain, at least. All right, so I'm gonna go in with that onion. And I'm gonna season that right away with some salt and pepper. Now, you've heard me talk about this before. The salt in this portion isn't really to make things taste salty. It's more to actually remove some moisture from that onion to help it cook down a little bit quicker and get golden quicker, which is always a good thing in my books. So I'm gonna give that a stir. Ooh, I got pepper in my throat. Hot tip, don't immediately breathe in when you add the pepper into a hot pan. All right, now you wanna cook those onions down from anywhere from I'd say 2 to 5 minutes. You're looking for a little bit of golden brown color and some softening. This pan is clearly smoking hot, so they're already looking pretty good to me. So once those have cooked down and gotten a little bit tender and a little golden, I'm gonna go in with my garlic. Anytime I'm adding onions and garlic into a recipe, I usually 99.5% of the time, cook the onions down first a little, and then I add in my garlic. Because the garlic cooks and burns quicker. So I've got 2 cloves of garlic right here that I've already minced up. If you don't have them minced up, you can mince garlic any way you want. One time a lady sent me an email, and she was like, why doesn't anyone use garlic crushers anymore? Do you remember those things? Honestly, I don't know why. I don't know why. For some reason, I feel like chefy people were like, that's not a real thing. But honestly, however you get your garlic in, you do you. I'm not your mom. We're just making food together and it's a delight. All right, give that a stir. That garlic's gonna cook down for just about 30 seconds to a minute, just to cook off that raw kind of spiciness of that raw garlic. And now we're gonna start building that cream sauce. Now, if you've watched this show before, you've heard me talk about a roux. And a roux is basically just fat and flour mixed together, used to thicken up any sort of liquid. So I've got 3 tablespoons of butter in there. So I'm gonna add in equal parts, so 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Just scatter that over top. And basically what's happening here, this flour, when it mixes in with this fat and then you add in a liquid, the flour balloons up and thickens that liquid. As you can see, it's already grabbing onto all of that butter. Give that a whisk. It starts to clump up. And you wanna toast that off for just about a minute. What is better than bread? Toast. So obviously, you wanna toast it. If I weren't to toast this now, you're gonna get kind of almost like a raw flour gluey flavor. You don't want that. This is gonna give you just that little bit of toastiness, a little bit more flavor. It only needs about 30 seconds to a minute, so that's looking great. So now I'm gonna go in with my milk. It's a cream sauce, but we're using milk. So it's a lie, but that's okay. If you wanted to use cream, you totally can, but honestly, because we've got that roux in there, this milk is gonna thicken up and get nice and creamy, so you're good to go. So I'm gonna slowly add it in, and this is something that always scares people. As you're adding in your milk, things do get a little clumpy, but clumps and lumps, they just happen in life, and that is fine. As this simmers away, they will cook out. So just add it a little bit at a time. If you are worried about those lumps, feel free to heat the milk before you start adding it. But again, as this cooks, those little lumps cook out and it'll be absolutely beautiful. Perfect. This is looking great. So that's 2 cups of milk that I'm adding on into there. And those 3 tablespoons of flour will thicken it really nicely. So I want that to cook, bring it up to a simmer, let that go for about, I'm gonna say, wait, I gotta add something. I don't have pockets, so I forgot. I need to add a little bit of nutmeg into here. Okay. Guys, we're going in with a bit of nutmeg. Anytime I make a cream sauce, I love a little bit of nutmeg in there, especially if I'm gonna add it with ricotta. It gives a little citrusy note. So I've got some here. Pockets, it's in my purse today. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna add in a pinch of that nutmeg. That nutmeg gives you a little bit of lemoniness. It kind of lightens up the sauce too. It's not gonna taste like an old-fashioned donut. It's just gonna taste nice and delicious. So I've added that in, season that again with a little bit more salt, maybe a bit more pepper. Beautiful. And then you wanna bring that up to a simmer. Once that comes to a simmer, cook that for about 5 minutes. Then it's gonna get nice and absolutely beautiful and thickened. Once that is done, you wanna pour that beautiful sauce, not doing what I'm doing, which is hiding it. Pour that beautiful sauce into a container, because you're gonna use that later, but don't get rid of that skillet. You actually wanna use a dirty skillet for the rest of this thing. So I'm gonna take this off the heat, set it aside, because we're gonna build our lasagna in that pan. So don't wash that, don't do more dishes. I hate dishes. Don't do them. Okay. Now I'm gonna work on the creamy kind of ricotta mixture that goes inside this lasagna. So I promised you spinach and pumpkin. So starting off, we've got 300 grams of spinach here. This is frozen spinach. I thawed it in the fridge overnight. And you just wanna squeeze out, there's a lot of water in here, as much water as possible. Just kind of get your hand and just push. Do you see all that gross green water coming out? All of that liquid, honestly, not a lot of flavor. So you're just concentrating the flavor of the spinach. You're making it nice and kind of dry, and that's gonna make a beautiful filling. So this is 1 pack of frozen spinach, very economical. If you were to cook 300 grams of spinach, you'd be cooking spinach for a really long time. So frozen is my way to go. So I'm gonna add that on into a large bowl. And then I'm gonna go in with that ricotta. So I need 2 cups of ricotta cheese. You can use any type you want. Sometimes it's called traditional, sometimes there's extra creamy. It's kind of the same in my boat. So 2 cups goes in. If you can get it out, well, that's a thrill. Dumping a whole tub of cheese into something feels very nice. Now I'm gonna go in with a cup of canned pumpkin. Now you wanna make sure you're using pure pumpkin here and not pumpkin pie filling. Pretty much always have this stuff on hand this time of year. So just a cup of that, this is a rough recipe. Add that on in. And then I'm gonna go in with a cup of pecorino cheese. If you wanted to do something like a Parmigiano Reggiano, amazing, but I like the funk of pecorino. So I'm gonna go in with that cheese. Beautiful, beautiful. Now to season this up, I'm gonna add in a little bit of some chili flake just for some heat. You can leave that out if you're not feeling the heat, but I like that. And then for something herby and a bit of garlicky flavor, I'm going in with some store-bought pesto. This is the time of year that my veg garden and herb garden, she's over it. So store-bought pesto is my favorite way to get bright basil flavor into pretty much anything I need. I just store it in the fridge, or if you buy a big batch, just store it in the freezer. Pop it into an ice cube tray, freeze it in little ice cubes, and you are good to go. This we need about 4 heaped tablespoons to get that beautiful flavor. Now I'm gonna give this a bit of a mix just to start. And to hold everything together, I also wanna add in an egg. That's just gonna help this set up a little bit in the midst of everything. So then when you cut the lasagna, it doesn't turn into lasagna soup. We've all been there. All right, that egg just goes right on in. Give that a mix together. Season it up also with a little bit of salt, maybe a bit of pepper if you're feeling it. But right now this smells really good. Honestly, that pesto, doing all the legwork for me. I didn't have to chop a single thing, which is an absolute delight. That is looking amazing. The spinach in there is great. You can use any sort of dark leafy green you want too. A little bit of kale in here would be great if you're looking for something more hearty. Perfect. Now to assemble this lasagna, this is kind of weird because you want to use like this in quarters, this in halves, and the noodles in thirds. It'll make sense in a sec. I know, writing this recipe, I was like, so take a quarter of the sauce and da-da-da. Sounds complicated, but it's very simple. Basically, we're just layering things. So the first thing we need is a little bit of that sauce on the bottom of the pan. So about a quarter of that sauce goes in, that nice thick creamy sauce. Spread that out, I know, right? And you need that moisture on the bottom. Now we're gonna top that with our lasagna noodles. You need about 200 grams of ready to bake lasagna noodles. Just snap them. Doesn't matter if they kind of fall apart, it's gonna be fine. No one's gonna know except for people watching television right now. Just add those in. You wanna use about, I'd say, a third of those noodles just to create a little bit of a base. Then we're gonna go on with some of that beautiful pumpkin situation. You wanna do about half of this, spread it out, then we're gonna go on with more sauce and just keep building. I'm gonna keep doing this, but we gotta take a quick break. We'll be right back. During the break, I kept layering and layering. We've got that lovely cream sauce, we've got that beautiful pumpkin ricotta spinach filling, and then those layers of those noodles. Now, the only tricky thing that goes kind of off of the like sauce, noodle filling, it'll make sense when you read the recipe, is that top layer. You wanna save a little bit of that sauce just to spread on top. Since these are no-bake noodles, you want a little bit of moisture, so that'll kind of absorb into those noodles as it bakes in the oven. You need that, or else it's just gonna be crunchy, and nobody wants a crunchy lasagna. Crispy, yes, crunchy, no. Okay, so now on top of there, we obviously had to add a little bit of extra cheese. So I've got a cup of grated fontina, mozzarella, whatever you've got, anything that's good and stretchy and gonna go nice and golden brown. That's gonna be perfect. So I'm just gonna scatter that all over the top. I'm one of those people, I'm like an edge person, so I really favor the edges, because then you're gonna get almost like pan pizza. You know when you get like you know what I'm talking about. Those crispy little bits, so exciting. So that is looking beautiful, but now I do need to trap steam in there before this goes into the oven. So we need to kind of put a lid on this, but since I've got all that cheese on there, I don't want it to stick. So this is my trick. Get a little bit of aluminum foil, rip off a piece big enough to fit over that pan, and then use the dull side, not the shiny side. The dull side's a little bit more non-stick than the shiny side, so you wanna use that, but then for a little bit of extra insurance, non-stick cooking spray. So give it a bit of a spray, and that's gonna help that cheese, A, brown, because it's got a little bit more fat on it, but also not stick onto that foil. So add that on top. Give it a nice seal. I probably do 2 pieces on this one just to make sure I've got all those edges sealed in. And then I wanna pop that into a 375-degree oven. If you get this to this point and you wanna pop it in your fridge overnight, feel free to do that. But we're gonna bake it right away, again at 375 for about 45 minutes. 45 minutes is perfect. Then you wanna remove that foil. Let it go for another 15 to 20, just until it's cooked through and that top gets nice and golden brown. And you end up with something that kind of looks like a pan pizza. Like, that is so delicious looking. I am very excited about it. Now, with any sort of lasagna, you do want to set it aside to give it a chance to not be nuclear hot on the inside, because this is like lava right in there right now. So set aside for at least 10 minutes. That's gonna set up that ricotta mixture a little bit, make it easier, fingers crossed, to cut. So I'm gonna give it a taste. Let's give it a go. Now, it is a triangle or a square. No, it's not. It's a circle. Mary Berg naming all the shapes. We're feeling good. Now, if you want, you can cut this kind of like a pizza. I wouldn't be mad at that, but I'm gonna go kind of classic lasagna shape. So just cut through that beautiful crispy topping. Since I did this in a cast iron skillet as well, it's really, really nice because it's a nicely seasoned pan, so it's not gonna get stuck to the edges. You're just gonna get those golden brown crispers. The noodles are nicely cooked. A little bit of a lifter, fingers crossed. This is where you say a little prayer that everything comes out okay. And you lift this little baby right out of there. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's a nice looking lasagna. Feeling very excited. All right, I'm gonna transfer that on into a dish, whether you're doing like a bowl, whether you're doing a plate. I personally am a plate bowl gal. A little bit of extra pecorino on there is a total treat. And then obviously we've got that basil pesto, so I'm gonna throw some fresh basil on top. Now, when you're working with fresh basil, you can chop it. You can do something like a chiffonade, which is a nice little ribbon. I personally just like tearing it. I feel like you get a really nice scent. It kind of makes it feel like you're, I don't know, in Italy, cooking a lasagna that I guarantee you, you would never find in Italy. I feel like this is not official, but it's so good. It's so tasty. I'm gonna give it a taste. 3 types of cheese, 1 type of pumpkin, all type of delish. Okay, let's go. Guys. You have to make this. This is like pure fall in a bowl. And we are talking about one of my favorite mini ingredients that packs a total punch. We're talking about anchovies. Yes. I feel a light tentative ooh because not everybody loves an anchovy. But when we're talking small but mighty flavors, anchovies are 100% it. They're tiny little fish. They are super punchy. They are salty. They are funky. And they add such deliciousness to really whatever you add them to. But they go particularly well with pasta. So today I'm gonna show you how to make my anchovy butter pasta. I'm excited. Now, not only is this dish using a very small ingredient as the star, it's also very small on time and effort, so it's a win-win-win in my book. So first thing we want to do, though, to get started on this dish is get to work on a crispy little topping. Now, there's this saying or this belief in the world of cooking that fish and cheese don't go together, and I'm going to stick with that today. Would I at home? No, I would add cheese to this as well, because I like the taste of fish and cheese together. I don't think it's bad. I know. Some people are like, ew, Mary, you've lost me. Changing the channel. But honestly, for this one, I do still want something nice on top since I'm not gonna do like Parmesan or Pecorino. So I wanna do a little bit of a crispy panko topping. So I've got a pan here over about medium-high heat. And into there, I'm gonna go in with about 2 tablespoons of butter. You can use salted butter or unsalted. I know. Guys, it's called anchovy butter pasta. Get ready for a lot of butter. I'm very excited. All right, so in goes that butter, and I'm just gonna melt that down. Now into that butter, I'm gonna add in a little bit of garlic to give this a bit of flavor. So I've just got a clove of garlic right here, and I'm just gonna rasp it right over the pan straight into that butter. Saves on cleanup. I hate cleaning my cutting board when it smells like garlic. It's like truly the worst, because nothing is worse than making something with garlic that you chopped on your board the night before, then cutting up an apple for breakfast, and having a garlicky apple. No, if you do this, you're never gonna have that, so you're good to go. All right, I'm gonna give that a little bit of a stir, and that garlic just needs to go in there for just a few seconds, just to start to cook off that raw garlic flavor. But into there, we're gonna add in our panko. So for that, I'm going with about 1/2 cup. Usually I do about 1/4 cup per tablespoon of butter. So we got 2 tablespoons of butter, 1/2 cup of panko going right on in. And I just want that to toast up. Gonna give it a bit of a season with some salt, little bit of pepper as well. Here would also be really nice if you like things extra spicy, some chili flakes. Really nice, would be super tasty. We're sticking with pepper today. I'm gonna give that a bit of a stir, just to let that go. This is one of my favorite things to add on top of any sort of pasta, especially if it's not a red sauce pasta, because it gives really good texture and crunch, making you like come back for more bites, which is always a good thing. All right, while that gets to toasting, I have got a pot of boiling water here. Very exciting. I'm gonna season that well with salt. Hold on to your pants, because we're going in big with the salt. When you're cooking pasta in this much water, you wanna season it nicely. So I'm gonna go in with 1, 2, probably 3 big pinches. But don't worry, most of that goes down the drain, but it does season that pasta. We're gonna use capellini, angel hair pasta, or spaghettini. Since this is so fine and thin, it doesn't go in that water for very long. So I wanna use a good amount of salt to season it up as it cooks. I've got about 300, 350 grams here. I'm gonna give them a bit of a twist, drop them in. They kind of do that, always exciting. See, doesn't it? It kind of looks like, I don't know if anybody has like their grandma's crystal. It looks like that one pattern. Do you know what I'm talking about? I've got some nods, so I'm feeling good about this. All right, now this only takes about 4 minutes to cook, and basically by the time this is done, everything else should be good to go. Now, we're gonna take a gander at this panko, because already it's going golden brown. So I'm gonna give it a bit of a stir, and you see that golden color starting to appear? That's just building flavor. Panko is great. It's all crunch, but it doesn't have a ton of flavor. So by toasting it in butter, it's gonna get so delicious. All right, that is looking good to me. Now into there, I'm gonna add in just some freshness to brighten things up. So the first thing I need is a little bit of parsley. So I'm gonna cut up about 2 tablespoons-ish of parsley. You know me, when I measure herbs, I measure with my heart. I do whatever I want. I love herbs. I love adding a ton. A tablespoon to that panko will be perfect, but if you wanna add in more, feel free. Chop it up as fine or as big and chunky as you'd like. I'm gonna go for a little bit of a mid chop. Then I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of that right on into that panko as it's browning up. Now into there as well, we're going in with some lemon zest. Again, this is gonna be bright and punchy. Anchovy is like a really this flavor. Lemon zest is a really this flavor. So it kind of works really nicely together. So add in that lemon zest right on into the pan. You can hear as it hits the pan, because that lemon zest has a little bit of oil in it, and you can smell that oil coming out. Smells bright, sunny, which is always a delight. So, so good. If you can make your dinner taste sunny, you will never have a bad evening. It's always a good thing. All right, that is looking golden and beautiful. So I'm just gonna set this aside and transfer it into a bowl, because I'm actually gonna build the pasta in this pan as well. So the panko is good. That pasta is cooking up. I feel like I got probably about 2 more minutes on that. So I gotta pick up the pace, Mary. Stop chatting so much. All right. Now that pan's going back over the heat, and I'm just gonna turn it down just a smidge, and I'm going in with more butter, because this is anchovy butter pasta. I'm going in with 6 tablespoons. So if you've used a stick, a whole stick of butter is going into this recipe. Now, again, we're going for it. If you wanted to do this with oil, you could, but I really like the sweetness of butter with that salty funkiness of the anchovy. So while that butter starts to melt down, let's go over here and chat anchovies. So you can buy these in the grocery store. They're always in the refrigerated section. Sometimes you can get them in a little tin. I like to buy them in the jar because I use them frequently. But this is really good minced up into your salad dressing, popped into a tomato sauce. It just kind of melts in. That's the thing I love about anchovies. They are teeny tiny little fish, but they almost like break down really quickly anytime you add them into anything. And adding them into butter, oh my gosh. Now we're going in with 4. Stick with me, guys. It's gonna be good. 4 anchovy fillets is gonna be perfect. I'm gonna give these a little bit of a chop. Now, I will warn you, if you cut your apple up tomorrow on this, they might be a little anchovy-y. So don't worry, it's gonna be fine. But if you get a little bit of salt, scrub your board with some salt and soap, gives a little abrasion, gets that out of there. I'm willing to clean my cutting board for anchovies, just not garlic. That's the line I draw in my kitchen. Now, one thing about anchovies, you wanna run your knife through them, and you can actually get the side of your knife and kind of press and mash it into a paste. They break down really, really nicely, but they also break down with heat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna transfer these into my butter, and that's gonna start cooking down. Ooh, my butter's getting browned. Extra flavor. Okay, cool. All right, pop those in, give it a little bit of a stir. And then those anchovies start to break down. They're gonna get beautiful and a little kind of emulsified with that butter. I know, guys, I'm excited. This is a funky dinner tonight. All right, now into there, I'm also gonna go in with some lemon juice. Again, we're gonna brighten things up. We got a lot of funk, we're gonna brighten it up. So in goes some lemon juice. I thought I got a lemon with no pips, but I do. So we gotta go in through the hand, make sure there's no seeds in there. That's gonna, oh, I missed. Wait, we're gonna pretend the seed didn't go in. All right, beautiful lemon juice for some brightness. This is gonna be really, really tasty. That is a juicy lemon, oh my gosh. And then I'm just gonna see how my noodles are doing. Now, you could do this with pasta or spaghetti. You could do it with linguine. By doing it with spaghettini or a thin one, this is good to go straight on into this butter. You just drag it over, and the key here is you want some of that pasta cooking liquid to come into this pan. That is gonna bring this sauce together and make it absolutely beautiful. You even want to add more than you think. Anytime I'm saucing pasta in a pan, I want it to be a little sloppier in here than what I wanted on my plate. As the starch starts to cool, it gets a little claggy, so give it a little bit of extra love. Feeling good and delish. Season that up with some pepper. The anchovies are nice and salty, so I'm gonna leave that out, but you salt to your content. Go in with that beautiful chopped parsley I did earlier. And in, I think, a grand total of about, I'm gonna say 7 minutes, I made dinner. So, that is a win for me. If you cook it down more, those anchovies break down. Let's bring this on over and get this plated up with that crispy panko topping. Again, if you wanted to, a little bit of pecorino on here. Never hurt anybody, I'm not mad about it. If you wanna do a little twisty, just grab your ladle or a spoon, give it a bit of a twist in there, bring it on over to the bowl, and you have got a beautiful little pile of pasta, topped with that wonderful little bit of crunchy panko. That is a dinner, in my opinion, made in heaven. I'm very excited about it. Tiny little anchovies making a dish for the ages. We gotta take a quick break, but we'll be right back. We're gonna get started today on my roasted lemon chicken. It's really, really tasty. The reason I kind of started there is it's actually a lemon roast chicken, so I don't know why I called it a roasted lemon chicken. But here we go. Okay, so this is a really simple recipe to make. I absolutely love a roast chicken because it's something that seems really intense and difficult, but all you do is plop it in a pan, chuck it in the oven, Bob's your uncle, your house is gonna smell amazing. So to make sure you're getting the best roast chicken possible, I like to start off with what I call, or what is known as, a compound butter. And a compound butter is just butter with a bunch of stuff smushed into it. Really, really tasty and easy. So I've got a bowl here, and into there I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of butter. You want it to be room temperature so it's nice and spreadable. If you were in a pinch and maybe only had cold from the fridge butter, you could melt it, but don't melt it too much until it's hot. You just want it a little liquidy. So I'm just gonna give that a little bit of a mix up. And this is where you get to start adding whatever flavors you want. If you want this to have kind of like delicious Mediterranean spices, you could put in oregano, again, lemon, garlic, a little bit of shallot. We're going with lemon and garlic and herbs. You could even do, though, like cumin. You could go a little spicy, whatever you want. But into here, I'm gonna start off with some garlic, 2 cloves to be exact, and I'm gonna mince it right on into that bowl. Now, I don't know what it is, but this time of year, I feel like everybody starts getting a little, maybe under the weather. And for some reason, I feel like garlic really helps with that, you know? Keeps you healthy. So 2 cloves go right on into that butter. This butter, if you weren't to put it on chicken, it would be amazing spread on some bread, because I got a theory that everybody likes garlic bread. No one's gonna complain if you put garlic bread on the table. All right, now I'm also gonna add in some lemon zest. I don't want the juice because I don't want that acidity. I just want that nice bright lemon flavor. So I'm gonna add in the zest of about 1 lemon. And when you're zesting, you just wanna get that lemon skin, just the outside. If you do get a bit in, it's not gonna ruin the whole recipe, but aim for just getting that bright yellow color off of the lemon. This has all of that beautiful lemon oil in there, so it gives you that punchy lemon flavor, again, without that acidity. All right, now season that up with some salt. A little bit of pepper goes into there as well. And then I also want to add in some herbs. Now, if you wanted to, you could do, like I said earlier, you could do oregano, you could do sage, you could do thyme, a little bit of tarragon for a bit of a French vibe. But I'm going in with parsley and rosemary, 2 classics that I've got grown in my garden. So I need about 2 teaspoons of finely chopped parsley and about 1.5 teaspoons of rosemary. Rosemary is a lot stronger than parsley, but it's going to be absolutely delicious, and it's a perfect match for some chicken. So just kind of grab it all, roll it up. This is a really, most people would call this a chiffonade. This is not a chiffonade. Chiffonade means nice ribbons. This is just like chop it small. You know what I mean? So give it a nice chop. Get all through those rosemary bits. The thing with rosemary, I really like cutting it nice and fine because it does get a little bit chewy. It's a little bit woody. So you want to chop it nice and fine so it gets distributed without ending up with like a pine tree in your chicken, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna add those herbs right on into that butter and just give that a mix together. We've got that garlic in there, that lemon zest. Also, I would put this on pasta. Get out of here. What a delight. So this isn't even a 2-for-1. You could just do everything with this butter and you got a recipe right there. All right. Now, when you are looking to put butter onto a chicken, you actually don't just want to put it on the outside. It tends to burn that way. I like to get flavor right into the meat. So what you want to do is with either your fingers or a spoon, you start with, I'm going to call it the business end of the chicken, and you get your spoon and you just kind of wiggle it in between the skin and the meat. You can see it kind of separates. Do you see the spoon kind of going through there? That's gonna give you a little pocket that you can put that butter into. Basically, you use the backbone of the chicken as a little bit of a divider for each side. So just get that underneath. Then you're gonna get about 1/3 of the butter, put it under one side, and just kind of spoon it in, and then you can just press it forward into that area that you left. All that flavor is now gonna go into the meat as opposed to just melting off and ending up in the pan. So I'm gonna go in with another 1/3 on the other side. If you're really feeling ambitious, you could also separate the skin from the legs, put a little bit there. But to get that flavor all the way around that chicken, this is where you just get your spatula, get the rest of that butter, about 1/3 of it, and just kind of smear it all over top. Now, you don't have to worry about getting every little bit because the butter will melt down. Just focus on getting a little bit of the legs, a little bit of the breast, and you are good to go. All right, I'm gonna go quickly wash my hands because they're all chickeny. But that, as is gonna be an amazing roast chicken. My very favorite thing, though, about a roast chicken is the fact that when you make a roast chicken, it is a true one-pan dinner. I think it's like the original one-pan dinner, I'm not gonna lie. So I've got a pan here, just a roasting pan. If you didn't have a roasting pan, you could do this in any sort of high-sided situation. Even in a big cast iron skillet, that would work too. But I'm gonna start in here and I'm gonna add in that lemon. So that lemon that I zested earlier, I'm gonna slice that into about 1/2 centimeter thick slices. That's gonna bring a little bit of juiciness, a little bit of acidity into the pan sauce that's gonna happen underneath that chicken. So add those lemon slices right on in, just scatter them about. And now for a little bit of veg. I wanna add about 650 grams of mini potatoes. 650 grams is what you get in one of those classic bags, so just empty one of those bags right on into the pan. What a delightful sound, I love it. Now for some savory ultimateness, I'm gonna add in 2 yellow onions. I've cut those into about 8 wedges each. That's a good size so they'll cook down, they'll caramelize beautifully, but they're not gonna burn. So add those on in. And then finally, I wanna toss in 3 cloves of garlic. Now, this garlic has its skin still on. When you're roasting garlic for a good long time, you wanna leave the skin on because it doesn't burn. It gets sweet and juicy and wonderful. So add that on in. You can add on a little oil, but you totally don't need to. Now we're gonna bring the chicken. That chicken is gonna render all its fat down onto those veg. It's gonna be amazing. So I'm just gonna add a roasting rack in. If you don't have a roasting rack, no worries. I'm gonna pop that chicken on top. I like to get my tongs, stick them again in the business end, pick her up, and pop them on. You wanna start your chicken breast side up. I'm gonna add a little bit of chicken broth just around onto those vegetables, just about a cup. I've got a little extra for later. And then if you're feeling it, a chicken loves a little bit of white wine. So a splash of white wine always makes for a tasty chicken. That alcohol will cook off, but it's gonna give you a nice acidity into that sauce and be totally dreamy. Now, season that up with a little bit more salt and pepper. Get those veg as well. And then this chicken needs to go into a 425-degree oven on the bottom rack. That's gonna need 30 minutes. So that's get that chicken started. The trick when you are roasting chicken, oops, I went in the wrong oven. Whoops, we're going in the top oven. Pretend you didn't see that chicken. Pay no attention to the chicken in the bottom oven. Okay, so this one is going in the top oven, right on the bottom rack. That's gonna get beautiful and golden. We're gonna start that cooking process for 30 minutes. Then, this is the weird part of this chicken recipe. Grab your broth, go to your chicken after that first 30 minutes, and we're going to flip it over. Now, stick with me. Sounds kind of strange, but basically what we're doing here
is we're flipping it over so all of that delicious juiciness from the kind of backbone of that chicken is gonna render down and over. Now, just go again, right up the chicken, wiggle it off of that roasting pan, and give them a flip. All that juiciness now is gonna rain down onto that breast meat, keeping it nice and wonderful and juicy. Roast it for another 30 minutes, flip it over one more time, roast it for about 20, and you end up with something that looks like this. If the pan ever goes dry, add a little splash of broth, but you get the most delicious, golden brown, crispy chicken. All in one pan. You've got those potatoes, you've got that beautiful juice, that cooked down garlic. This chicken looks like a total showstopper, but when we come back, I'm gonna turn this little baby into some soup, so stick around. So before the break, I made this beautiful roast chicken dinner. We did sneak some greens on there, I'm not gonna lie, some steamed green beans, but this is the perfect one pot meal. We've got that beautiful lemon and garlic roast chicken, some wonderful potatoes that cook right alongside, and then again, some green beans for a little bit of healthiness. That looks so good. Now, what I want to show you is how to take that beautiful roast chicken dinner and turn it into my lemon and greens chicken soup with orzo. Yeah, orzo is my husband Aaron's absolute favorite pasta shape in a soup. So this one's for him. What's up? Yeah. All right, so the first thing you need to do is get started on that orzo. Now, as opposed to cooking that pasta in water, I'm actually gonna cook it in chicken broth, just store-bought chicken broth. So I've got a liter of chicken broth here, just simmering away. And into there, I'm gonna add about 3/4 of a cup of orzo. Orzo kind of looks like rice grains. It's really tiny, it kind of is oblong. My cousin Lindsay one time when she tried buying it, looked in the rice aisle, it's not there. It's in the pasta section. It's really, really great for soups. It kind of absorbs everything, so the soup kind of turns into like an orzo risotto the next day, so it's kind of a 3-for-1 meal. Now, I'm gonna add that orzo into that boiling stock, and I want that to go for about 6 to 7 minutes. Now, that will bring it to almost done. I don't wanna fully cook it at that point, because I wanna add some things in just to heat through and get beautiful. So we've got one going here, but now I wanna talk about this. This is the flavor. This is where everything delicious lives. That chicken roasted on top of all those onions, the potatoes, which I don't know if your family's like mine, but there's no more potatoes because they ate them all. But what I want you to do is hunt through this beautiful mess of onions that are caramelized down, those bits of lemon that have also cooked down, and find the garlic. So I've got a garlic clove right here, and grab a fork and just smush it. You see all that creamy, delicious garlic? The skin just comes away super easily. So we're gonna get rid of that and find all of those garlic cloves. You want all that sweet, cooked down garlic flavor. This is not gonna give you like garlic bread, garlic breath. It's gonna be sweet and beautiful and delicious. So again, give it a smush. There's nothing more satisfying than smushing cooked garlic out of its skin also. If you can't tell, I'm having a great time. All right, and now I just want you to kind of mash it and cook it, or stir it rather, into these onions, that little bit of lemon, and that's gonna become roasted garlic onion. There's also a little bit of liquid in here from that broth that cooked down, that little bit of wine. So this is gonna bring so much kind of home-cooked flavor into this soup. This is how you take store-bought broth and make it taste like you made it, and you can tell everybody you did, which is the delight. So I have got some of that broth with that cooked orzo in it right here, and I'm gonna get as much of this beautiful mixture of these onions and garlic and just scrape it right on into that pot. That's gonna bring thickness and richness. She's not cute right now, but boy, she will be. Give that a good stir together, just to come together, and you're gonna have that beautiful, almost kind of French oniony, caramelized cooked onion. It also beefs up the soup a little bit, so you get even more to serve your friends and family. Now, for some greens, I'm gonna toss in just some spinach. Any sort of leafy greens you've got, feel free to throw them in. Kale would be wonderful, collard greens, Swiss chard, really any sort of green. But I've got a good few handfuls here, so I'm just gonna add that right on into the mix. If you are using something like spinach though, I would add this at the tail end because it does tend to go brown if you cook it for too long. But you just want to stir that through just to wilt it down. Gonna pop the lid on to let that help. And then to finish your soup right before serving, you want to add in something bright. This is my big tip anytime you've cooked something for a long time. You want something acidic. You want like a little hit of vinegar or maybe a little knob of butter, something to round the flavors out. So if you've made soup at home and it's feeling a little lackluster, just a little bit of lemon zest and a little bit of lemon juice will perk everything up and make it taste bright and fresh again. I absolutely love doing this. Again, makes it bright. Remember before when I was talking about all that garlic and how it's good for if you're feeling a little under the weather? If you wanted here, you could add in a little bit of grated ginger. That would bring another level of kind of like nice sparkly citrusiness. Really, really tasty. I've also got some of that chicken here. So this is about 2 cups of that chicken that I've just shredded up. You could also cube it. I'm gonna add that right on into the pot as well, just to heat through. A little bit of that lemon juice just to bring it all together. To me, this looks more like a stew than a soup, but you know, to each their own. Some fresh parsley for some added green would be delicious. And then, just in case you like it, a little bit of red pepper flakes. Just a pinch, just in case you're not into the heat, but that, as it cooks, gets really nice and spicy and wonderful. So this soup looks like a total dream. We started with something that looks like this, kind of sad, and we end up with something that looks like this, like a total dream. All right. Now, I'm gonna serve this up, but to taste this delicious soup, or the chicken, she gets to decide, is my new friend all the way from New Brunswick, Jody. Come on out, Jody. Hello, Jody.
Hi, Mary.
How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Oh my gosh, Jody, you're from New Brunswick, you said?
Yes.
Okay, whereabouts in New Brunswick?
I live in Maces Bay.
Beautiful. What brings you to Toronto?
Our daughter lives here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
We
exciting.
brought my mom and my dad up to visit her, see where she lives.
Whole family trip.
Whole family trip.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to give one of them or both of them a taste?
I do, yes. I said I wasn't going to do soup because I didn't want to get it on my shirt,
Valid.
but it looks delicious, so
Okay.
I'm going to go for it.
You're gonna give it a go? Okay, right on,
I'm going
okay.
to pick up the bowl.
Yes, please do.
Okay.
This is a pro soup eater right here. You pick up the bowl and you're good to go.
Got to get some chicken.
Some chicken in there, a little bit of that green. That was an excellent soup bite, Jody. Do you like it? Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Jody, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
It's so
you.
nice meeting you. Oh my gosh, what a delight. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.